Thanks for joining us here at Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. We're kicking off our Week 14 picks and preview episode for the NFL. We're getting ever so close to the business end of the season now, and we're here to give you a preview of some of the biggest games of the week. We'll give you our best bets and our tips for where to make some money. We're on a hot streak here at Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. But this week, we're going to kick off with our guest picker segment, and that's presented by Fantasy Gameday. So just a reminder, we're in partnership with the guys at Fantasy Gameday, the hottest daily fantasy game in the UK, made by British fans for British fans, geared towards what we want. And the app's great. The guys are doing a fantastic job. There's more and more people joining the Sunday Stars game each and every week. Put in your lineup of your favorite NFL stars, watch the points roll in, and you can win some huge cash prizes. We've got the top 20% of entries each week get a cash prize, and the winners are walking away with over £100. As a Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover listener or viewer, you can get yourself a free entry. If you're playing for the first time, make sure you register using promo code COVER, all in capital letters, and you will get yourself a free play after your first entry. So it's 2 for 1 or buy one, get one free, and you'll have a great opportunity to win some great cash prizes. As I said, we're going to start with our guest picker segment this week, and we're joined by Brendon Booth. Brendon, how are you doing, my friend? Thanks for joining us here at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover.
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me, Paul. Hello, cousins across the water.
Yeah,
glad to be here.
We were just chatting just before while we were getting the stream loaded up. Just about, Brendon, your connections to Manchester, my hometown.
Yeah, I have a very long lineage in the Manchester, ancient Cheshire, Lancashire area. My family Booths come from Manchester and used to be sheriffs and knights and stuff like that. So we go way back. I have Trafford in my family line, lots of the ancient like Norman families and stuff. So it was a slow descent west to a trailer park in Northern California from landed gentry, but we're here.
Cool, good stuff. So you mentioned there, obviously you're in Northern California. Your team aren't sadly in Northern California anymore, but you are a huge now Vegas Raiders fan, but a huge Raiders fan. Raiders Nation spreads across the West there. So we'll get into some Raiders chat as well. Your sort of area of expertise, so to speak, is in the fantasy world. So it'd be great to talk about that. But before we get into that, Brendon, where can the viewers of our show, where can they find you? Where can they follow you? And what content have you got coming up?
Okay. I have a YouTube channel called The Fantasy Burn. I do a weekly, mostly weekly. I've been on Thanksgiving holiday for a couple weeks, but it's a weekly kind of interview style podcast. And then the Monday Meltdown is a live stream during Monday Night Football that I have guests on, and we have shenanigans and talk fantasy and stuff like that. I'm a writer for DynastyProsFootball.com. We do a lot of Debbie stuff, it's dynasty oriented, but we get into the campus to Canton College stuff a little bit. One of our feature articles is called Dynasty Dilemmas, where we'll take a player profile and figure out what to do with him in Dynasty. After the season ends, that's when everything kind of picks up, because that's when people are looking to, do a whole lot of like building and trading, and the rookie drafts come and all of the off-season stuff. I do news for playerprofiler.com. I'm a senior analyst at the news desk. So anything that comes across in the AFC West, my partner Mike and I, we get on that and then help edit with my boy Johnny Tuma. And then on DynastyProsFootball.com, going back to that, every Saturday we drop a weekend warm-up, which is my partner at FF Canuck 99 and I. We do a starts, sits, streams, injury updates, news, and stuff like that. That's at Dynasty Pros on YouTube, and it's a really, really fun show. We have a good time doing it. Good chemistry between the two of us. It's fun.
Awesome. Make sure you go give the guys a follow then, and we certainly will be doing to check out more of the content. And I think, we are getting to that point in the season, and certainly from, we're getting to the business end of the NFL season, but also the business end of the fantasy season. Playoffs have either just started or will be starting this week, depending on the format of whatever league that you're in. Difficult, but who's around maybe on the wires or on those player lists at the minute that nobody's touching and nobody's picking up that could make a difference for us over these next few weeks? Who's going to win us a championship out of the blue? Who's going to be that difference maker?
There aren't a lot of people that are on the waiver wire, although there is a wide receiver, Parker Washington from Jacksonville, who just kind of made some waves after the Christian Kirk injury on Monday. He had a pretty acrobatic touchdown catch, and he seemed to be a hot commodity on waivers this week. Tight ends are always real iffy, and Brevin Jordan from Houston with Dalton Schultz going down. Brevin Jordan has been kind of a big pickup over the last couple weeks. We've had a lot of buys in week 13 and week 14, so a lot of people are really scrambling to get their lineup set. And Parker Washington and Brevin Jordan were the big ones that I've been seeing. We have Justin Jefferson coming back. Huge news. So that meant that there were a lot of wide receivers that were able to be picked up. Mitch Trubisky, Josh Dobbs is starting if he's out there for you. I would avoid Bailey Zappi. But there's some quarterback turmoil, and there are some pieces out there. So always be active. That's one of the things that I notice is that even if I have a slow start in a season, by the time week 12, 13, 14 comes around, I'm usually at least on the cusp of the playoff hunt, if not deeply embedded, because I work the waiver wire and trades and stay active as a manager. If you don't do that, you're just basically subject to your draft, and that's the best way to lose a league. So get active.
Get active, yeah. Some sound advice. I think we've seen there. You mentioned about Mitch Trubisky and Bailey Zappi there, and maybe not to touch Bailey Zappi, but just highlighting where we are with quarterback injuries, particularly have a huge impact from a fantasy perspective. And it just feels like it's not stopping. We saw Trevor Lawrence was the most recent one, went down on Monday night in that game. Is there a strategy to be able to kind of plan B that kind of thing? Because it just seems to happen en masse now in the NFL. And it's not just this year. I think we've seen it the last couple of years. I think we've been over 50 different starting quarterbacks over the course of the season for 2 or 3 years in a row now. Any advice in terms of how to kind of manage that sort of situation? Because that could derail a very good fantasy team going into the playoffs.
I wish that I had a magic wand, a magic bean, an answer to that. But the thing is that in the fantasy content space, what we do is we analyze probabilities. And the only thing that you can do, because you can't pinpoint individuals most of the time. Yes, the best indicator of an injury is a previous injury, but a lot of the injuries this year have been people who hadn't ever gotten hurt before, hadn't really missed time. So to account for that, you just have to do your best to draft well and get that depth there, and then recognize very early on the guys who are not going to contribute. Everybody wants Kendre Miller at the beginning of the season thinking, all he needs is his shot and he's going to get out there. But that's a piece that in week 2, you can get rid of for somebody else, a Devin Achane, to bring in and have that depth for the end of the season. So that's about the only thing that you can do. Zach Wilson is back, by the way. Yeah. So, and I would not be shocked if Trevor Lawrence starts this week.
Yeah, I was a very selfish question for me to ask because I do have Trevor Lawrence heading into my fantasy playoffs. So it was a very selfish question, trying to get an edge on the competition.
I have him in the EFFC 5, the European Fantasy Football Charity Tournament, and I really hope he's there. But like looking at everything and what he was talking about today in his press conference, it sounds like he's not too far off. I sprained my ankle on Saturday, and I could go out there today. So,
Yeah, it was sounding good news. It didn't look good when he went down on Monday, and I had him walk all that way to get back to the locker room. But yeah, I saw his press conference earlier on. It sounds like I think it's likely he will play. And we are a gambling show here as well. I took and we were shouting out as soon as we saw the line, the Jags came out at +3 on the road to the Browns. And I feel Lawrence will play, so I took that. And all of a sudden, if Lawrence play, I think that flips. So, yeah, an interesting one. And huge for the Jaguars dropping that game as well. They probably really need him because that AFC South has all of a sudden become a race again.
Yeah.
Speaking of the AFC, let's have a chat around your Las Vegas Raiders.
Do we have to?
Yeah, let's.
Okay.
Maybe a few weeks ago, it'd have been very, very doom and gloom. What's your take on Antonio Pierce as the kind of interim head coach? Where do you think the Raiders will go from a head coaching position? Will Pierce get a shot? Kind of, what are your thoughts and what would you want to see happen?
So the next 4 weeks are really, really going to cement what's happening with both Antonio Pierce and Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell has the potential as far as his abilities as a quarterback, his footwork, his poise, and his arm to be a starting quarterback in the NFL moving forward. He got short shrift as a rookie because Josh McDaniels did not want to play rookies. He obviously was the better quarterback in camp, better than Jimmy Garoppolo, and should have gotten the start from the beginning. Antonio Pierce is the leader of men, and he's got the entire roster following him. We saw a couple years ago when Rich Bisaccia was the interim head coach with Vegas. They rode that on the back of Derek Carr, basically being the head coach on the field, to the playoffs for the first time in years. I think they're too far out of it at this point to make it. But if they can put together an upset of the Chiefs, go 3-1 over the next 4 weeks, I think Antonio Pierce can cement himself as a head coach for the Raiders next year. One of the things about coaching in the NFL is you have your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator, and typically when those are separate things from your head coach. So Josh McDaniels had his system. Bill Belichick has his system, and the only thing that coordinators do is implement that system. Well, Patrick Graham is the defensive coordinator of the Raiders, and he has his own defensive system. And Bo Hardigree is the offensive coordinator, and he has an offensive system. So what you want is your head coach to be the leader of men, and then you want your offensive and defensive coordinators to be running those sides of the ball. When you have crossover, that's when things can get sticky. So I think keeping Antonio Pierce as an independent leader of everybody is beneficial to the team because he can motivate and rally and things like that. Meanwhile, the guys who are coordinating, those are the ones that actually are the brains behind the operation. And I really, really like both of them and their schemes and their play calling. I think both of them are really good. And I would love to see everything as status quo move forward into next year.
Yeah. Is there a bit of a maybe regret now looking back that they didn't keep on Rich Bisaccia and give him the opportunity to take that team on? Now, as you mentioned, kind of that managed to get to the playoffs, and yeah.
I have to say yes because I'm a Derek Carr stan. I've watched every game that Derek Carr has played as a professional. He played at Fresno State, which is just south of here. Devontae Adams is from my area. I have liked Derek Carr from the beginning. And what I saw in the 2021 season, after John Gruden left, was Bisaccia go out there and be a figurehead. He wasn't making decisions. He basically said, Derek, please, for all our sakes, go. And Carr basically implemented the game plan from the line of scrimmage. And they had to win out 4 games in a row to make the playoffs, and they did. And I think 2 or 3 of them were comeback victories basically on his back, coming to the line, reading the defense, making his own play call, and marching down the field to win. Rich Bisaccia had nothing to do with that. I mean, it was basically Derek Carr. He willed it. He's had a really bad go of it this year, and last year as well with the Josh McDaniels regime. Most of the good things that happened in the first half of the season last year with McDaniels in Vegas and Carr as a quarterback happened because Carr was calling audibles and then getting reprimanded by McDaniels for not sticking to McDaniels' game plan, which is one of the reasons why he got pushed out of town. So I think if they had kept Bisaccia, obviously we wouldn't have had to go through the Josh McDaniels hardship. Um, and things would have worked out a whole lot different. That was a playoff team that he completely tried to rip down and fit square pegs into round holes. And anybody who's ever been in management knows that's not how you do things. You assess what you have and you work towards those talents rather than just trying to shove everybody into your boxes. And that was his big mistake.
Yeah, I think that might be the last we'll probably see of Josh McDaniels as head coach in the NFL. The two cracks he's had at it now haven't gone particularly
for a while.
And just wanted to touch on, and this might be, it's not meant to be a loaded question.
Okay.
The last few years, and for a long while, the Raiders, particularly in the draft, especially in the first round, just they seem to get in their own way. And I really wanted to ask a question around Tyree Wilson. First round pick out of Texas Tech, because I was a huge fan of his. What is it the identification of the players, the scouting, or is it just when they get to the team? What is it? Because we've seen so many problems that the Raiders have had with first round picks in the last few years. And I'm not, it's very early to say it may be the same with Tyree Wilson, but he's certainly not had the impact that his talent suggests he would have done.
Right. We haven't really hit on first round picks for 5 years since Josh Jacobs was a first round pick. And at the time I was like, no, you don't draft a running back in the first round. So it was a pick that I didn't especially like. But it wound up working out. The Tyree Wilson pick I hated because I wanted Jalen Carter. And I saw a lot of problems with Tyree Wilson in terms of his get off. He seemed slow. He seemed very upright. He didn't use leverage very well. He's fast. He's tall, but he seemed to be able to dominate lesser players rather than equals. And so I had a really hard time. I considered him a project. And as a top 10 pick in the NFL, you can't draft a project. You have to draft somebody who's going to immediately make an impact, like Jalen Carter. I don't know what it is about the Raiders front office because it spans regimes. You have from McKenzie and Del Rio through John Gruden and his GM, and then the McDaniels era. Like, you have 4 different eras where they're just missing. Now, they hit on a guy like Max Crosby. They hit on a guy like Hunter Renfrow. Derek Carr was a franchise quarterback and was a second rounder. So they do well at talent evaluation. I don't think they do well at first round valuation, right? So some of the safeties that they've taken, the cornerbacks that they've taken in the first round, those aren't first round picks.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is. I just hope that next year can be better.
Yeah, next year, hopefully next year can turn it around. Jalen Carter is an interesting one because, and I don't know if that's one where had Jalen Carter come to the, he's probably going to be defensive rookie of the year. I think he's certainly the favorite for it. And his play certainly in the first half of the year, I think he's quieting down a bit. But had he, he's landed in Philadelphia in that locker room where people have been, in a particularly strong defensive line unit where people have been able to get hold of him, experience. If he goes to the Raiders, I don't know if it's the same. I don't think you get this. I don't know if it's the same thing because of the situation, because you're not necessarily got the head coach to manage it and maybe the people around him. Yeah, Max Crosby would be there to help and support, but yeah, I just don't know. I think the situations are a little bit different. I don't know if it necessarily be the same. And it was just a huge risk. I think we talked about pre-draft a lot around Jalen Carter's off the field problems.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe it was what that might be why they stayed away from him.
So I think defensive line, especially interior defensive line play, is one of those things where having complementary teammates is good, but you have to be able to win on your own. And that's what Tyree Wilson doesn't seem to be able to do, is win on his own. And Jalen Carter can win on his own. even though Fletcher Cox is there, even though Brandon Graham was there, Jalen Carter was beating people by himself, and that's something that Tyree Wilson doesn't seem like he's able to do. Now, if you stack the line, if you have an offensive lineman who now has to pick up a linebacker blitzing, and Tyree is left alone, that's a different story. But as far as like winning the one-on-one situations, that's one thing that is independent of team. You know what I mean? And I think that's what makes Jalen Carter one of those special ones, is he can do that, whereas Tyree Wilson isn't necessarily ready. Now, I'm not saying Tyree Wilson won't be that guy in 2 or 3 years. There are plenty of first-round draft picks who take a couple years. Football is hard. It's hard. You're going against men who are 350 pounds and 6'4", 6'5", and athletic as all get out, and it's difficult. So if he learns the right techniques and stays healthy and stays motivated and hungry and learning, he could be a good player. I disagree with him being taken at the 7. That's all. Like, not to, I'm not trying to disparage Tyree Wilson at all.
Yeah, it's hard to live up to that value, isn't it? If you don't have that kind of instant impact when you're getting taken in that kind of top half or top third of the first round, it is kind of difficult sometimes to. And it's not on Tyree Wilson to justify his draft position, because he didn't make the choice, did he, at the end of the day? But yeah,
right.
It's always a tough one if you don't kind of produce straight away. It can be tough.
And if you're not going to get that guy, trade back.
Yeah, trade back to
increase
get some
your value. So
but hopefully let's see he improves in year 2, and can get the best out of him, because like I say, I was a big fan of his in college, and great points as to reasons why maybe he was a bit more successful at Texas Tech. But yeah, it's a shame to see someone struggle, and hopefully it turns around for him. We'll move on from the Raiders and talk our FourFold challenge, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So our FourFold challenge, just a reminder for everybody tuning in, our FourFold challenge, we're running it all season long, and it is our competition each week where we have myself, Joe, and Byron, plus our guest, make a FourFold bet out of one favourite against the spread, one underdog against the spread, one over and one under points total from the NFL slate for that week. So without further ado, Brendon, who's going to be your favorite of the week?
My favorite, I'm going with Houston on the road at New York Jets. They are 3.5-point favorites, and I just feel like when you start to break things down, you look at quarterbacks first, and you had Tim Boyle or Zach Wilson versus CJ Stroud. Sauce Gardner is there. He's going to be playing on Nico or however he's going to be implemented in the defense. But there are a lot of weapons on that Texans team. And look for Xavier Hutchinson with the injury to Tank Dell. Xavier Hutchinson was kind of a preseason darling, and he could step up and have a big role in that offense. Gray should be back. And so I think that Houston is going to do what they've been doing and definitely win by more than a field goal at New York.
Cool. We cut the data. We cut the lines a little bit earlier on today. We've got it at 5.5. Are you still okay?
Whoa! No, no, that's too much. So this is Bet 365, right?
Yeah, Bet 365. So we've got one of our guys is out on a trip in Las Vegas at the minute, so we had to cut the lines a bit earlier just so he could do it while he was still sober.
Okay. Well, in that case, I
didn't realize it moved that much, and that can't move that much off the back of Zach Wilson, right? It can't move 2 whole points off the back of Zach Wilson playing.
It sure did. Wow. There's a couple then. I do like the Steelers over 6. They're home favorites, although it's a Thursday. And but I think I'm going to go with the Lions -3 over the Bears.
Yeah, Lions -3 on the road in Chicago. A few kind of, I'd say maybe 3 indifferent performances from the Lions back to back. So we saw them struggle at home to Chicago, still won the game, beat by the Packers on Thanksgiving, and then they kind of just let the Saints back in the game last week after they were crushing them.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things about those Lions is you have teams that are good strategically and you have teams that are good motivationally. And Dan Campbell is a good motivational leader. And if anybody can get a team ready to go in as dogs and absolutely dismantle a Chicago Bears team, it's going to be Dan Campbell.
I think they need a kind of a ruthless performance, a dominant performance. I think the Lions just to get back on track. That defense is a bit of a worry. They just seem to leave teams hanging around at the minute. How big of a worry do you think that is for the Lions down towards the back end of the season?
It feels like their secondary kind of gets exposed late in the game, and I think that's what is going to have to happen for Justin Fields to succeed. But as long as they can keep somebody on DJ Moore and keep somebody on Cole Kmet, I think they should be in pretty good shape. And they tend to be able to deal with single or one or two weapon teams rather than somebody who maybe is more spread out. Like the Saints, they have Olave but they had guys all over the field that were capable. And I think the Bears are a little bit more limited, although Deontay Foreman is supposed to be back. So that means that all three of their running backs are healthy. So maybe that's not such a great pick after all, but I'm gonna stick with it. Stick with it. Cool. You can't win if you don't take chances.
Very true, yeah. And we made you jump on the fly there as well, so we'll make sure we take that into consideration. Who's going to be your underdog of the week then? Who are you looking at for?
So my underdog is going to be Cincinnati. They're 1-point dogs at home against the Colts, and the Colts have been playing out of their minds, that's fine. But my local guy, Jake Browning from Folsom, about 30 miles away from here, he showed out on my weekend warm up on Fantasy Pros YouTube channel last week. I had him as one of my starts. Just had a feeling. Now, a partner of mine had him as a top 10 quarterback. I didn't quite go that far, but I did tell everybody, go ahead and start him. I call him JB2 because he's the other JB in that Cincinnati quarterback room. And I like him a lot. I've seen him. I've been watching him play since college or since high school. He's a local guy. I'm a Pac-12 follower, so I watched him play at Washington, and he picked up right where Burrow left off last week in Cincinnati. He had 2 good weeks, and last week was just kind of a big coming out party. I don't like that line at all for Indy. If you're a 1-point home dog and you're coming off a win like last week, I like that. I like that play.
Can Jake Browning give the Bengals enough to clinch a wild card place? Because they're at 5. I think they're at 500, aren't they? 6-6. They are well in the mix for the playoffs. Is he going to be able to give them enough consistent play because they've got the weapons?
Right. I can't. I'm not looking at their upcoming schedule, but they're in a tough division, and if they have to play Baltimore, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh coming up, those might be defenses that are going to be able to handle him. But on the other hand, when you've got Joe Mixon running the ball and you can throw the ball up in the air and have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins run underneath it, you can do a lot of really good things in the NFL. So and one of the things that I touched on with him was he's incredibly accurate. So if he has a high volume passing game, and this is especially in fantasy, if he throws the ball 45 or 50 times in a game, he's going to complete a lot of passes because he's a very accurate passer. And that's exactly how it played out on Monday. And if you can do that, that means that you can take care of the ball. And if you can take care of the ball, it means your team can win the turnover game. And if you can do that, you can go pretty deep into December.
Yeah, it was 32-37 on Monday night. It was a real incredible performance. And I think the Jaguars were heavy favourites. I think they were 8.5-point favourites for that game, and certainly didn't see the Bengals winning that style of game as well. That sort of shootout game,
right? It was back and forth.
Very Pac-12, very Pac-12.
Yeah.
Pac-12 after dark, but
rest in peace, Pac-12.
Yeah, rest in peace, Pac-12. Such a shame, but signed off with a heck of a game. Washington, Oregon. A heck of
And
quality.
my Cal Bears won the last Pac-12 regular season game, so that was nice.
Nice, but yeah, quick one while we're there. Washington got a shot of winning the national championship.
Absolutely. Michael Penix is good, and they have Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan, and Jalen Polk, and that's as formidable a trio of wide receivers as there is in college football. I would put Jalen McMillan and Rome Odunze up against Marvin Harrison Jr. and Egbuka in Ohio State, and I will say that Michael Penix is a better quarterback than the Ohio State kid, who is no longer going to be at Ohio State.
Yeah, he's
So
hit the portal this week, hasn't he? Yeah.
yeah, I know Marvin Harrison Jr. is like and I'm not saying this sarcastically, he is the greatest wide receiver prospect we've had in a very, very long time coming out in the rookie drafts this year. And that's legit. But if you're looking at a duo, Jalen McMillan and Rome Odunze are phenomenal. And I wrote about both of those pairs on fantasyprosfootball.com.
Nice.
DynastyProsFootball.com.
Head over to DynastyProsFootball.com and go check them out. Get a step ahead for your upcoming drafts. I mean, certainly Marvin Harrison will go very, very high. I think it's possible 101, isn't he? I guess.
Depending on the league format, it's going to be him and Caleb Williams trading back and forth 101 and 102.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Very excited for it. Shame, again, just shout out, shame for Florida State, whether you think they should have done or should have not got in. Sucks for those guys. Feel bad for them because they
absolutely should have been in.
Yeah, had such a good season. Right, so we've got so far Lions -3 is your favourite, Bengals +1 as your underdog. What's your under of the week going to be?
All right, my under is going to be Seattle at San Francisco, which is technically Santa Clara, which is in a totally different county than San Francisco. It's not even in the same town. They should be called the Santa Clara 49ers of San Francisco. It doesn't make any sense.
We've got that 46.5. I don't think it's moved.
No, and I was looking back, and at 46 points over the last since 2021, there have only been 3 games where they have exceeded that point total between the two of them. They tend to be wet games. It's been raining here in Northern California over the weekend. That area of the Bay Area can get pretty wet. I was in the Colts 49ers monsoon a couple years ago at Levi's Stadium. So there likely won't be a huge kind of shootout environment. It's going to be a lot of the 49ers having the lead and playing with it, and Seattle trying to get back into the game, but the 49ers defense being strong. So if it's 21-17, that's not going to surprise me at all. If it's, 28-10, again, not going to surprise me. I think it's going to take quite a bit to get to that 46.
Cool. Good stuff. Niners look like they've got the inside run for the number 1 seed now after that fantastic performance in Philadelphia. They're relying on, I follow the Dallas Cowboys. They're relying on the Dallas Cowboys doing them a favor this week. The Eagles is Sunday Night Football, but yeah, Niners looking good after their blip earlier on in the season. So last but not least then, who's your over, Brendon? Where are the points going to be this week?
My over, and I'm going to stay on the west side of the U.S., and I'm going to go with a homer play and say Minnesota at Las Vegas is going to hit the over. And I think that was 41 or 43.
Yeah, well, we've got it at 40.5, so
40.5.
41 will do you, yeah.
Yeah, so 3 touchdowns from Minnesota minimum. Justin Jefferson is back. Jordan Addison is there. TJ Hawkinson is playing. TJ Hawkinson he was my second pick in the Scott Fish Bowl, and he's been helping carry me. And I had him on bye last week, which hurt, but I still made it to the next round. And then the Raiders have been playing better, and Aiden O'Connell is definitely capable. So each team in that 3 touchdown range, the Raiders defense can easily give up 30 points. So there's 50 right there if the Raiders are scoring, 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, and then, Minnesota puts 30 on them. We're in that 40.5 range real quick, and so I like that overplay.
Nice. Points down in Vegas for the
Oh,
Raiders.
it's indoors on turf with two teams that are well within their abilities to score over 20 points apiece, and defenses that are well within their abilities to give up more than 20 points apiece. So I think that's a really low line.
Yeah, it should be a real good game, this one, I think, as well. So the Vikings are chasing NFC wildcard spot. Obviously, the Raiders are playing. You've got some pride. They're on the very outskirts of.
We're playing for pride.
Yeah.
The worst thing about the Raiders season has been the last month and a half resurgence of the Broncos, because for a while the Raiders were not doing anything and just maintaining that second place spot in the AFC West. And then all of a sudden the Broncos came on, won 5 in a row, and now they're kind of in a good position if they want to take a wild card out of that division, but not looking good for the Raiders anymore.
No, not so much. But who knows? A late run, and you just never know. Could start this week with a win over the Vikings.
Let's go.
Just to go over your card, then we've got the Lions -3 as your favorite, the Bengals +1 as your underdog, Seahawks Niners under 46.5, and Vikings Raiders over 40.5. So far, Brendon, we've had one of our guests who's gone 4-0. So could you be the second? It looks good. I like your card. I think it looks good.
I wouldn't say parlay it unless it was the original Texans at 3.5 dogs, or 3.5 favorites.
But, you mentioned the parlay. So of this so far, we're 13 weeks in. We've hit 9 of these so far. So between us all, we've hit 9 of these. So I finally sat down and did the numbers on it the other day. If you followed us and you bet every single one of our FourFolds on the season, you'd be up 56 units. So that's not bad going. Yeah,
that's not bad at all.
Not bad going off, especially with it's a FourFold parlay. It's every single one. So I think that's pretty good going.
I just like the up X units. Yeah. That's just the up part.
Yeah, up 56 units. So yeah. It's been working well for us so far this year, and been one of the parts where we've been making some money. So yeah, keep riding with us, and you'll make some money towards the end of the season. Brendon, before we go, just give us a reminder of where we can follow you and the content we can catch you on.
Okay, independently, I'm at the Fantasy Burn on YouTube. I write for DynastyProsFootball.com. I do both Devy and NFL fantasy content, and I have no byline at playerprofiler.com, but I'm a senior analyst at the news desk, and Player Profiler is just an incredible fantasy tool, and we've got huge things coming up in the off season. So now would be a good time to take advantage of the lowered subscription price, get your foot in the door at playerprofiler.com, and then benefit when everything comes out next year.
Nice, cool. Well, we'll make sure we hit up playerprofiler.com for sure. We need all the help we can get with our Dynasty and Fantasy Football team. So we'll be there for sure. So yeah, check it out. Check Brendon out. He's been a fantastic guest. And check out that content, as I say, get ahead of the game with all things Dynasty and Fantasy.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Paul. Glory.
Absolutely.
Red Devils.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we'll be able to turn it around. Thanks for joining us, Brendon. I'm just going to pass over to myself and Byron now as we finish off the rest of our look at the Week 14 slate with our picks and preview show.
Awesome. I hope you guys win.
Thanks, Brendon. Thanks there to Brendon Booth for joining us as our guest picker for our FourFold challenge. Best of luck to Brendon and his picks. And we'll see if he can be our second guest to go 4-0. Hopefully I'll go 4-0, and we'll get to my picks later. Welcome to Byron. Byron, welcome to the Week 14 Picks and Preview episode. How are you doing?
Yeah, great, yeah. Week 14 already, and really getting close to, well, it is the business end already, but really getting close to the end of the regular season.
And nearly Christmas, nearly the end of the regular season. It's all going off. We need to do a Christmas special as well at some point. Don't know how we're going to do that, but hats and jumpers maybe. Don't know. Cool. Just us two again this week. Joe's either on his way back or still living it up in Las Vegas. Maybe we'll never hear from him again. I don't know. I hope we do, though, because it's a pain in the ass putting all the slides together. So please come back.
And just miss him generally, of course, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure, hopefully, he's having a great time. I'm sure he's having the time of his life out in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
We're going to, as always, we're going to break down one key matchup this week. No prizes for guessing what that's going to be. And then we'll take a look at our FourFold challenge, touch on the rest of the games, go through our ATS Picks competition, shout out any best bets we've got, and give you our Fantasy Game Day tips before wrapping up. Let's start with that game. And undoubtedly, the game of the week is... I was going to just say Patriots Steelers, but I couldn't do it. It's the Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys. Battle for the NFC East. It's a huge game. It's Sunday night football. It should be an absolute cracker. And I'm going to try and not be biased on this one. I feel like, it needs to be credible in our sports media journey. So you can be if you want, Byron. It's Eagles Cowboys at AT&T Stadium. The Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 53, and this is huge for playoff seeding, for the number one seed in the NFC, for the who's going to win the NFC East. What are your thoughts, and how are you feeling from a Cowboy? Let's just start from a Cowboys perspective going into this one.
I always try and be impartial in my coverage anyway, but and that's honest, I do. I don't like blatant homerism and coloured takes because of it, but as a Cowboys fan and as someone who is a little tired of the Eagles as a general NFL lover, I think the Cowboys have a great chance this week. I think they're playing better than the Eagles. I think they match up well with the Eagles. They really could have beat them in the link a few weeks ago. And I know, coulda, woulda, shoulda, what have you. Again, I'm not saying that as a bitter Cowboys fan. I'm saying that as a football watcher. 3.5 points, I think, is maybe giving the Eagles a little respect, to be fair, with what happened on Sunday and how well Dallas have been playing. At home, they've been tough to beat. One of the things I've loved with Mike McCarthy this year with his offense has been, I'm really pleased because, I feel bad for the guy, but Michael Gallup isn't a factor in the offense at all anymore, and he shouldn't be. He was really becoming a hindrance, and I hate to say it because the guy's recovering from an injury and whatever else. But he got his contract, he got paid, so it's not like he's an undrafted free agent who's never going to make a dime in the NFL. But Brandon Cooks has stepped up as that number 2 receiver, and he's having the impact that we all hoped he would. Because he's had a lot of teams, he's always performed on them, but you never know when that's going to, the light will finally stop shining for him. But the second half of the season, he's been a real good wide receiver too. And Michael Gallup's really been faded out of the offense, which has been such a benefit, not forcing him 5, 6, 7 targets a game. I think it's all set up really well for Dallas to... I'm not going to say they're going to do a San Fran in 42-19. I don't think that's really realistic, but you attack Philly through the air. Unless there's mistakes in there, and Dak has been prone to in his career throwing too many interceptions. Unless there's a couple of interceptions here for Philly, I don't know how they slow Dallas down to under 35, 37 points. And with how Philly's offense has been playing again the last 5, 6 weeks, I'm not sure they have it to go 30, 35 points with Dallas. Dallas's defense, again, you've seen Deron Bland get attacked last week by DK Metcalf in single coverage, and DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, there's obviously similarities there, but I don't think Dan Quinn's going to let that happen again. I think, lesson learned. Bland is a great ball player, he's a great receiver, he's an incredible draft pick hit, but maybe a bit of hubris after all his pick sixes of trusting him a little too much, perhaps. But I kind of hate feeling this way. As a Cowboys fan, I'm very confident for Sunday, and that is very unlike me. I'm normally a very pessimistic fan generally of all my sports teams. Growing up a Carlisle fan will do that to a man, but and again, kind of growing up as a Cowboys fan, Dallas haven't had this success in my lifetime. Well, maybe in my lifetime, but not as a supporter over the last 20 years. And yeah, I can't remember feeling this good about such a big game. Could all come crashing down come Sunday night, and Monday morning I might be feeling like a fool, but I just think it's a real good matchup for them.
So my worry, and I'll try and provide some balance from an Eagles perspective, but my worry is that I look at that and it's still 3.5, and I just think the hype is around getting around Dallas again, and that's when I think the Cowboys are at the most vulnerable, kind of just going under the radar and just kind of chugging along when the Niners and Eagles are now all of a sudden this game's huge and everybody's loving the Cowboys, and it just makes me think this is where there's the bump in the road.
Yeah.
And also, I'm fully expecting the Eagles to have some sort of response to what happened to them on Sunday, and probably a road game might be the best thing for them.
Yeah.
Being an underdog again might be the best thing for them because, again, maybe expectation. There's been a lot of noise around the Philadelphia Eagles this week, which is wild for a 10-2 team. And the positives that you can look at, yes, there've been some negatives, and yes, they can be better in a lot of areas, but they've been winning tough games during a very, very difficult. I don't know if anybody's got a 5-game stretch or a 6-game stretch as difficult as they've had or they're coming to the end of in the NFL season. So it was always going to take its toll. They're a bit beat up. Jalen Hurts is a bit beat up. Yeah, I know. I've got a funny feeling. I think this will be close. I was really close to taking the Eagles plus 3.5. I think maybe it might be a field goal game. Still think I think the Cowboys can win. I think the Cowboys can win just because they've been really good at home against Philadelphia. So in Dallas against Philadelphia, they're on a really, really good run. I think it's 6 in a row that they beat the Eagles. So yeah, I'm confident from that part. But I'm just expecting the Eagles to kind of show why they are one of the top teams and why they're one of the favorites for the Super Bowl. Does that mean the Eagles come into Dallas and win? I don't know, but yeah, I'm certainly not thinking we're going to do the same. The Cowboys are going to do the same thing that the Niners did or anything close to that. I think it's going to be a real, real close game, and yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm very nervous about it because the Cowboys don't win, division's gone. You have to cement it into a wild card position. Yeah, then you're going to go on the road to whoever wins the AFC South because you are going to be the fifth. You're going to be the 5th team. No way 6 or 7 catches them. So yeah, you on the road to Atlanta, to New Orleans, to Tampa again, maybe, and then you've got to go on the road to Philadelphia or San Francisco.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think this is important. If the Cowboys are going to have a chance of winning the whole thing, I think they need to find a way to win at the very least win the division, have a home playoff, as if that's actually the way it might work out. And then if you have to play Philly again, then Philly have to come to Dallas.
Yeah.
And then then you have to go to the Niners. And if you get to the NFC Championship game, that's progress. But I think you have to get a home playoff game to make that happen. Because I wouldn't be confident the Cowboys going into Philadelphia or San Francisco in January and winning.
Yeah, it's tough to paint as a likely picture, certainly. You mentioned there about 6-0 against the Eagles in the last 6. That's 6-0 against the spread as well in the last 6 against the Eagles at home. In the last 13 games, as 3-point favorites at home, Dallas are 13-0 and 10-3 against the spread in that time. In their last 20 games against the NFC East at home, they're 18-2, 16-4 against the spread. And a couple just for Philly as road dogs. Doesn't happen that often. They're not huge underdogs a lot of the time, but their last 10 as 3-point underdogs on the road. They are 3-7, 3-7 against the spread, and 1-3, 1-3 in the Jalen Hurts era. So they do kind of play to, what their billing is, I guess, in those matchups, which is another positive for Dallas, hopefully, that streak doesn't come to an end. But I was kind of surprised to see that there's been 4 of those in the Jalen Hurts era. And yeah, they're only 1-3 in them because it feels like the Eagles do overcome quite a lot. So I was quite surprised to see I was only hitting 1-4.
Yeah. Interesting one. Again, from Gambler's perspective, we just mentioned there that the over-under line's 53. The last 6 Cowboys-Eagles games have hit over. So both in Philly and Dallas. It's a big number, but certainly a high-powered Cowboys at home, real high-powered offense. Eagles can put points as well when they get going. Real interesting one, and it should be an amazing Sunday night football game. Really looking forward to it.
It feels like we say it a lot, but it feels like it's going to be one of the games of the season. Everything's so well set.
Yeah. It's going to be such a good one. Right. Let's not talk about it. Any bets? Any bets for this one, Byron?
No, I haven't got anything on yet. I like Jake Ferguson as a touchdown scorer. I haven't got his priced up yet, but he's becoming a bit of a big game player, I think, at this point. He's stepping up when he needs to. it really reminds me of Dalton Schultz. Really like Dalton Schultz, obviously. He was disappointed he left, but if you can replace him with Jake Ferguson, second-year tight end, and really not see much drop-off, I think that's credit to Dak, credit to Mike McCarthy, credit to Jake Ferguson primarily, obviously. I think Philly's linebackers are always an issue, and I think that's probably the way to attack them. I'm sure CeeDee Lamb's going to get targeted as a slot an awful lot as well, but I like Jake Ferguson as a touchdown anytime.
Yeah, weirdly, the touchdown scorer props aren't up. I don't.
Yeah.
Fine. Surely Philadelphia aren't taking David Carr's advice of playing Marcus Mariota.
I'd be surprised. I don't want to say I feel bad for him. I think his greater point kind of got lost in his. I think if he just addressed, because I think his overall point was that Jalen Hurts needs because I've been saying this for a few weeks, Philly need an extra bye week. And it's like Jalen Hurts is playing Hurts, but he needs a rest. And after Dallas, I could kind of see, like, if you can give Jalen Hurts a week or two and play Mariota and not lose those games, I can kind of see it. But when you say things like Mariota's going to carry the offense better, he can do the drop back game better, it's just like, that's just nonsense. If you just say that Jalen Hurts, you think he's too banged up and he needs a break, that's a different issue. But I also think you're really going to struggle to tell Jalen Hurts he's coming out when he's not, when he's able to play. Like, these are elite athletes, and they do not like being told they're not playing, and rightly so, because he's the leader of that team, unquestionably. I think he could do with a break, but I mean, pick an NFL player that couldn't do with a break in week 14. Like, it felt. Don't have much respect for David Carr. I never do. Like, I
feel a bit sorry for him, because every time like something like this in a clip like that comes out, and there's not loads of them, but when they do, and everyone just jumps on the fact, well, he got hit 500 times in the head. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's such an easy pile on.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't he? I guess. Probably for me. Sorry, David Carr. Yeah, probably for me, Daft one, just to continue it. Jalen Hurts has been very turnover prone, especially throwing interceptions. They're on bland, over half an interception. It's probably not a particular value play. It's only plus 390, so less than 4-1 to get an interception. But excuse me, sorry. Just coughing a lung up there. Yeah, over. Great podcasting there. Yeah, over half an interception, plus 390. And yeah, probably a couple of other ones. CeeDee Lamb's receptions, it's a lot. The line's over 7.5, but we've seen him get to double digits. Frequently this season. Obviously, he's got the record after that record, and I think he was it 12 or 11 receptions in the first game for 190 yards at the link. So yeah, and that's plus 120. So I think that is pretty good value. And Jake Ferguson over 4.5 receptions plus 140. I think Dak will probably end up having to throw it a bit more. I know we've been rushing the ball better, but Philly are, typically good against the run. We've seen some teams, carve them up, but like that as well. And this, probably a few others that we'll have on our card. Huge game. Let's move on then and have a look at the rest of the card, the rest of the slate, and we're going to continue our FourFold challenge. So apologies we haven't uploaded our guest Brendon Booth's picks to the slide yet, because I literally just got off speaking with him. So I'll get them added up for our posts, but they're not on there now if you're watching on the YouTube. Reminder, our FourFold challenge, we pick a favourite, an underdog, and over and under each week. Whoever finishes last, me, is going to be making a donation to the charity of the winner's choice, currently Byron, to a value of whatever the difference in the winning and losing record is, which is growing every week. Byron hit last week. He's hit 3 of 4 FourFolds, 3 of his last 4 FourFolds. And we've hit 9. And I did the maths. So you'd be 280 quid up, or 56 units if you're just betting £1 a time. Which I think's brilliant, really.
Agree. Yeah, I mean, if you'd told us that at the start of the season, I would have taken it.
Yeah, 56 units up. And we'll do a breakdown of the individual units, because like I say, I'm minus 13 units. Byron will be a plus a lot more, so will Joe, and the guest will be plus a little bit as well. So it's just you and Joe carrying that, really. But I'm determined that this is going to be the week, as I am every week, right? I say that every week. So yeah, my favorite for the week, I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts. This is a cop-out. They're 1-point favorites on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. Colts. I mean, to be fair, Bengals are in the wild card race as well, right? Let's not get that lost. But the Colts are 7-5, only a game behind the Jaguars and a potentially injured Trevor Lawrence for the division. Yeah, I just think the Colts, and I know the Bengals need it to stay in the race, but I think the Colts are in a much better position, and the Colts need this one more. And I've got over the Gardner Minshew can't play on the road because they won in Tennessee last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it doesn't. I mean, obviously the Bengals are starting to back up quarterback as well, but so are the Colts, and it kind of feels like that's getting a bit forgotten because of how good Gardner Minshew's playing. I'm not going to say he's playing like a top 10 quarterback in the league, but he's certainly not a hindrance. And I picked, not as my favorite of the week, certainly, but a little preview at ATS here. I picked the Colts as well. I think it's a good favorite. I think Jake Brown he had a great game on Monday night, but it's not easy to keep that up. And I don't think the Colts are a perfect team, but I think they're a more overall, probably a bit more well-rounded team than Cincinnati without Joe Burrow. I'm sure Jamar Chase will still get his. Don't think he's going to be a fantasy game day player with the price tag he probably carries, though, because I don't know how much he's been priced down without Joe Burrow in there. I'd be tempted with Zach Moss again, though. I know the result maybe wasn't exactly perfect on Sunday, but the workload was there. I'm sure the workload is going to be there again. I think the matchup was well for him. Again, he's going to be more expensive than last week because Taylor was a late rule out, I think. Not late in the week, but probably after prices had gone out, I believe. But yeah, I think he's still a value player because I think he's a workhorse back again.
Yeah, Jamar Chase is 5,900 and Zach Moss is 5,300 in your fantasy game day. Sunday Stars game for the week that's up now. Go check it out. Colts are 5-1 against the spread on the road this season, so I'm confident that they'll win. I just need it's just to win the game, isn't it? Yeah, -1. Be very lucky to get a push here. Just to shout out, I know we're not talking points totals in this one, but the under at this one has got 50% of the money on it, but only 7% of the bets. So that would indicate
some big bets on the under.
The sharp money is on the under, which has risen. So we cut it at 40. It's already up to 43. Was it 43? It's moved, hasn't it?
It's 44, I think, in fact.
Is it gone again?
Yeah, I think it's 44.
43.5, yeah.
Oh, there we go, yeah.
Yeah, so it was 40. I think when we cut it, it was 40. So that's gone up 3.5 points. So you can get value, you can get huge value on that.
Yeah, 44 on DraftKings, 43.5 on B365.
Yes.
And I know you like this is a fact. I know you like these historical trends.
Yes.
The Colts as a favorite in Cincinnati, 4-0 lifetime, 4-0 against the spread.
Were all 4-0. All four of those times when Peyton Manning was playing quarterback for the Colts?
No, only one.
Only one of them?
The other three were prior to Peyton Manning being drafted.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough.
2005.
Maybe some Andrew luck, I guess. I don't know. But
no, 2005, then 94, 93, and 92. I'm guessing they were maybe in the AFC Central in 94, 93, 92. I know the Colts have moved around a little bit, I believe. So I'm guessing that was maybe an AFC Central matchup then. It seems weird they were playing 3 years in a row, if not.
Frequently, yeah. Oh, there we go.
But we'll take it. I mean, hopefully 5-0 on Sunday.
Yes. Otherwise, another FourFold for me is dead. Your favorite, you're going for the Green Bay Packers against the New York Giants. Packers are 6.5-point favorites heading into double Monday Night Football. That doesn't mean these two teams play twice. It means there are two games.
That'd
Packers,
be very cruel on Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, it would do. Although, actually, give me more Tommy DeVito.
I'm happy with the amount I get.
Okay, fair. I've had a week off. Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, I'm still okay with it.
I think they've activated Tyrod, though. I don't know if we're going to see Tyrod instead of Tommy DeVito, which would be a crying shame.
No, Dable's confirmed DeVito's a starter.
Nice. Love it. Keep him in there.
Absolutely.
Minus 6.5 on the Packers, your favourite, yeah. What's the reasoning behind that?
The Packers have been great the last 4 weeks.
They've been really good.
Getting better by the week. Christian Watson, I think, is going to be out of this game, unfortunately. Aaron Jones, I don't expect to be back either. But I don't really think it matters too much. For all we love Tommy DeVito, and he's a great story, he invites sacks like Sam Howell, and that Green Bay D-line is eating again. The safeties and cornerbacks are getting in the way of passes. I just think this could be an ugly night for the Giants. Since Matt LaFleur took over in Green Bay, they are, I think it actually predates him at this point, but the Packers are 16-0 in December, dating back to December 30, 2018. They haven't lost a game in that period in December. They turn up when the weather gets cold. Matt LaFleur has yet to lose a game in December as a Green Bay head coach. I think they're pushing for the, not division, but certainly those wild card places. New York, I think, are just rolling over and waiting for, winter to come and spring to come for their draft picks. I don't think they're a competitive team right now, unfortunately, for them.
Yeah, sadly not. Just a one for this again, more for the total, not for the spread. All five New York Giants home games in 2023 have hit under.
I am expecting it, yeah.
Yeah, I think the over-under is 37, so it's a pretty low total because the Packers have shown they can put up points.
Yeah, I mean, Packers and the Giants' defense hasn't been shining. So yeah, the Packers could put up 28-30 by themselves. I wouldn't be stunned, especially a defensive score wouldn't be out of the question either with how much, Tommy DeVito does invite pressure. Yeah. I do have one, again, I know you like these historical trends, and this is a crossover with one of our draft shows in the summer. You know how much we love doing those. The last time the Packers lost to the Giants in December, the Pet Shop Boys, always on my mind, was the number one in the UK. December 13, 1987.
Excellent.
I don't know how many times they've played the Giants in December since, but I did dig up that little fun fact for you there.
Excellent. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. Next one, Joe's favourite. Not here to justify his picks, but he's gonna be real sad because this is now -3.5. The Houston Texans. So if we cut the numbers a little bit later. And the only thing that's happened in the meantime is that Robert Saleh has confirmed that Zach Wilson's going to be starting at quarterback. Is that worth 2 points?
Has Zach Wilson confirmed he's willing to?
I don't think he wants to. And also, I wouldn't blame him because he's been pissed around that much by the New York Jets. He's just been hungry. He's just been hung out to dry. Nobody, I think he's done after this. When the Jets inevitably let him go in the offseason, who's going to pick him up? He's going to have to go to the XFL or something, the USFL or XFL or the merger, whatever's taking place.
Yeah, I really don't know. Might be the new host of MILF Island. I've heard this talk. Could be a career path for Zach, but it's so weird to think he was number 2 pick so recently because it feels like he's been a laughing stock for about 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really blame him for not wanting to play, but I don't think he can really. You can't refuse to play. But I think on the brighter side, the Texans are a badass team. They're pushing for the division in the first year of, D'Amico Ryans, first year of CJ Stroud, Will Anderson, no Tank Dell, unfortunately. But I want to see I've picked the Texans here as well when it was 5.5 as a spread. I think they might go in and just put the stink on the Jets. I don't think it matters who the Jets quarterback is of the options they have.
Do you know who hasn't picked the Texans in the ATS Picks competition?
Oh, ATS, I thought you were going to say FourFold because I did not have the picks up for our guest. I'm guessing it's you then because I went with the Texans.
So this Jets defense is playing out of its absolute mind.
Yeah.
They are still hanging on in games. They're scoring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say they can win. I think they'll be able to move the ball a lot better.
I'm not convinced.
Don't
that
forget,
Texans defense has looked great too this last few weeks.
But don't forget, Bryce Young and the Panthers beat the Texans.
Mm-hmm. And the Jets beat the Eagles, so.
But at 5.5, at 3.5, no, at 5.5, I think the Jets can just slow it down, can really, really slow the offense down. You're now in a position where, with no Tank Dell, you can hone in on Nico Collins. You could almost just leave Sauce Gardner, you go take care of Nico Collins. You're not having to double him. I think this could be maybe a rookie quarterback performance out of CJ Stroud that we haven't seen yet in terms of just something where he really, really struggles. he's really good at processing. Forget what that S2 test said. He's shown that he's capable of doing it. But I just think this Jets defense can throw a lot of different things at him. And I think they'll be able to slow him down long enough for the Jets to stay in the game. Did the Texans win it? Yeah, I think the Texans will win it. But I just think it'll be close. I also think it'll probably be really, really low scoring as well. But yeah.
Yeah, over-under's 33. Tough to take the under, but I'd be more inclined to take the under than the over.
On the under, I don't know if I've already did I shout this stat out? Oh no, I did for the last game, didn't I? Mm-hmm. Under 33, 63% of the money from only 9% of the bets. So again,
big bets.
Yeah.
Yeah, your casual bettor isn't betting that on the under in the Texans Jags. Texans Jets.
So yeah. This is only the second time since week 14 of 2020 that the Texans have been a road favorite.
Wow.
Do you, off the top of your head, do you want to pinpoint where that was? Because it was this season.
Road favorite.
And they lost the game.
Oh, I remember this.
I just told you about it.
Go on, who did they lose to? The Panthers.
Yeah.
Dipshit, yeah.
They're a road favourite against the Panthers and lost. And yeah, this is only the second time since week 14 of 2020 season that they've been a road favourite. Interesting.
Historically, going into MetLife, Jet Life, the Texans are 2-0 as favourites versus the Jets, but they've never covered the spread. 0-1-1. Probably not get another push unless they start doing half points, and the way the officiating's gone in the NFL, they might do it. But yeah, interesting little historical factoid for you there. Got a few of these this week.
Yeah, you've done well. I'm loving it. You've been a busy guy as well, so yeah, appreciate the work. On to the underdogs. I flipped and flopped on this one. I'm taking the Raiders. I'm going to take the Raiders +3. I know Justin Jefferson's back for the Vikings. I know obviously, and then all of a sudden they've got Hockenson and Addison and Justin Jefferson, but they also have Josh Dobbs, who, while has been fun, while has been a great story, isn't a great quarterback.
No.
Whereas the Raiders have been...
I've got Aiden O'Connell.
I've got Aiden O'Connell. But also been I think been a lot better defensively since Antonio Pierce has come along. It's a game at home. Midwest to West. Yeah, I just like the Raiders in this one. And I think this could really, really upset the Vikings and might be the blow that knocks them out the wild card race. Well, not a fatal blow, but I think this is a game you got to win if you can be serious, if you're going to get that slot. But yeah, I think the Raiders have been getting a little bit more production offensively. I just think Aiden O'Connell's doing okay. They've refound a running game. Yeah, I really like the Raiders in this one.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought Joe picked it as his new hometown bias. I don't know if he's leaving, but yeah, I seen you pick it as well. Surprised I went in the Vikings on our ATS. Again, we'll get to that, I guess, when we get to the spread. But I love the Vikings here. Maybe love's a strong word. 3 points is it is probably a toss-up game, but yeah, my biggest thing is Justin Jefferson's just going to go off, and it's kind of hard to formalize on how many points that I relate to, but
could be a lot.
it's done it before, yeah. And the Josh Dobbs stuff, I find it hard to. Because Monday night was really rough against the Bears. That was about as bad as it could go, I think, for Josh Dobbs. Well, there was a potential pick 6 dropped as well. So when I say as bad as it could have went, it probably could have gone a little worse. But
they have had a bye since then, haven't they, as well? So maybe that changed the line and some stuff. Because he's only been there a few weeks. He's still learning the offense.
Yeah, I think ultimately, though, he is who he is. I don't think there's a gene or career coming for Josh Dobbs. And I mean, I'd love to see it. I love Josh Dobbs, the character and the man, and his TikTok game is great. He seems like such a positive influence on his team, but I don't think there's a starting quarterback long term there, unfortunately. But as improved as the Raiders have been since Pierce took over, I just think there's so many weapons essentially on the Vikings offense, and I think Flores has been scheming up that defense brilliantly all season. It was kind of one of the concerns I had going into the season was the Vikings defense and how much they're going to have to blitz, and they've done it, but they've held up. And I think that could be something that spooks AOC a little bit in this game of Flores is going to come and get you. And that defense is going to come after you the entire game. If they can get Josh Jacobs on screens and kind of throw into the blitz, I think that could be beneficial. If Devontae Adams gets going, obviously, they can cover 3 points easy, but he's looked a little not Devontae Adams-ish, I guess, good way to say. All season, really, but certainly since Jimmy G went out, it's just, I don't think the volume's there. I don't think the connection's quite there. AOC's throwing to who's open, which, is a rookie quarterback. He should be. They should be not forcing it because he's going to make mistakes that way. I don't hate the pick. Like I say, I did go the Vikings myself, but I think there's certainly reasons you could look at the Raiders as an option, certainly.
Yeah, I think, my gut feeling says I'm probably going to get stung on a push here, but yeah, it's been annoying. And a stat that I said I've chosen to ignore, Vikings are 5-0-1 against the spread on the road this season. The push was against the Eagles in week 2. So that would suggest that they are going to go cover again. But yeah, I don't know. I just really like the Raiders in this one.
The Vikings, it's the first game in Vegas as well.
Oh, first game in Vegas. Nice. See, that's it. They'll be on Saturday night. They'll be living it up. They'll probably bump into Joe.
They played the Raiders twice as favourites, and they're 0-2 and 0-2 against the spread in those games.
Yeah.
2-3 all time at the Raiders. But the last time they did lose to the Raiders on the road, the number 1 film was Elf, November 2003.
Nice. Love it. Can you just imagine Joe and Josh Dobbs out on the Raz in Vegas on Saturday night?
Yes, I can, yeah. Well, Josh Dobbs famously has alopecia, and Joe famously has glorious flowing locks.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see some solidarity from Joe and come back bald. So if you're listening, Joe, or when you're listening, I'm sure this will be on his plane ride home. Maybe some solidarity with the Pastronaut.
Nice.
Your Vegas buddy. A friendship that we've entirely invented, but there it is.
Well, laps in Vegas. You're on, Joe's also on the Raiders with me. Byron, you're on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2.5-point favourites. That's already come down. This could flip as well. This happened
1 point now, I think, right?
This happened with the Falcons when they played the Saints at home the other week, and they flipped. And it screwed me because I wouldn't have taken the Saints as a favourite. I took it as an underdog. And either way, it didn't matter. Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 2.5. Tampa Bay my pick to come out of that division and win it.
Yeah, I think they're my pick as well right now. We talked about it a few weeks ago, and again, the word I use was spunk, but character, a bit of fight in them. I don't think the Falcons have it. The Saints are so dysfunctional. I don't think they have it. The Bucs do. They're a team, I don't say filled with good players, because if they're filled with good players, it wouldn't be 5-7 in the NFC South. Let's not get out of the loop here. But they've got players who've won before, and I think they do need to change a head coach. I hope that comes in the offseason. I think Todd Bowles has generally been underwhelming as a head coach. I didn't pick many underdogs this week. I'm trying to think if I actually picked another one off the top of my head. So a little bit of this is wish casting as well. I want the Bucs to win really badly. I want them to win the division. Whoever they play, Dallas or the Eagles, in the playoffs, whoever the NFC South winner plays, at least the Bucs will put up a fight in that game and it'll be entertaining. The Falcons are a rollover. The Saints are a rollover. I think Mike Evans is rolling again. Rashad White's been playing like one of the best running backs in football. I think the Bucs have just got something about them where they're not a give-up team. Even if the record isn't obviously perfect, like say 5-7 in this division, you're not a great team. But the Falcons couldn't put the Jets away last week. I can't. You give me 2.5 points against that Falcons team, I will take it. And thankfully, I already got my bet on as soon as I made my lineup this week. So that 2.5 is locked in on my sheet.
I love the Buccaneers. I've waxed lyrical about the Buccaneers, which is wild for a 5-7 team. But I just think they're doing such a good job with so little. They've got some great players. We talked about Mike Evans at length in the last episode. But I think Baker's playing to a decent level and a good enough level for them to win. I think the defense has got up and down, but I think it might just start getting a bit stronger now as well. And yeah, it's just a mess, that division. I think they can win enough games to come out of it. But if they are going to do it, they have to get this one. I think if they don't get this one, it's done. I think. But yeah, Falcons. If it flips, though, I'll worry. So if it flips by the time we get to kick off and the Buccaneers are favourites, then I'm worrying.
Yeah, and I do think just on a fantasy game day angle, the Mike Evans, I think, is such a great shout. AJ Terrell went out with a concussion against the Jets. I don't think he's going to be playing this coming week. The Falcons are one of the worst defenses in the NFL for wide receivers anyway. No AJ Terrell. Mike Evans is eating. And we didn't touch it on the last game, actually, but I'd be very tempted to pay up and get Justin Jefferson first week back in there. I forgot to mention him as part of our talk about the Raiders-Vikings game, but
so he's the second most expensive non-quarterback. He's 7,300. Just JJ.
Yeah, didn't really want to hear that.
Yeah, Evans is still pretty good value. I think 5,500. I think that he was 5,300 or 5,200 last week. So he's not as if he's going up. He's having monster games.
Yeah, and you said Jamar Chase was 5,900.
Yeah,
Mike Evans at this stage of the season, I don't think should be less than Jamar Chase.
Yeah,
just my opinion. It could go off easily.
Yeah, and Baker loves him. Baker's got a real good connection with him. Gives him enough chances, enough deep balls. So yeah, he went 460 yards last week and a touchdown. So yeah, he could do something very similar here. And the Bucs are going to need it if they're going to win this one. But yeah, I really like the pick. I really like the Bucs. I think I like the Bucs to win the game outright. Never mind +2.5. Yeah. I hate the Falcons. Are so bad. It's such a bad watch.
So dull. Yeah.
Boring. The Bucs are exciting at least. Like Baker tries everything to win a game.
And it's crazy as well when you think in the last 3 drafts they've took Kyle Pitts 4, Drake London 8, I believe, Bijan Robinson 8, and they were unwatchable on offense.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that. What is the point?
Ludicrous. Yeah. We've touched on it. I think we mentioned it on the episode. It happened the week it happened, the Thanksgiving week. We had Deron Bland has more touchdowns this season than Kyle Pitts does in his career.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how Kyle Pitts looks with a real offense.
There's a worry that you're just wasting him. Him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, Titans, tough position in the NFL. We already touched on Joe. Me and Joe are aligned again here. We're both on the Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears, over 40.5. That's already moved up loads. So,
43.
Yeah, got in at the right. I cut these lines at the perfect time for us this morning. Not that I knew this was going to happen.
No, it's good timing though. Yeah, if you got your bets on.
Good timing. Yeah, absolutely. Over under 40.5. Is it 40.5?
It's 43.5 now. It's 40.5 when we've done it.
Oh, I've got it 40 on the sheet. I just need to change that to 40.5. Apologies.
But yeah, I like the pick as well. Again, I haven't bet on it. I've picked a different 40.5 game, but
yes,
Bears defense has been a bit better. You go ahead, Jay. It's your pick. I was just letting you update the sheet.
Yeah, where am I at? I've completely lost. Overs 4-1 in the last 5 Lions games on the road. I really like it. We've seen the Lions defense is porous at the minute. I don't think all of a sudden they're going to fix that. They were all over the Saints last week, letting them back in. Saints, it's not as if Saints put 28 points up against them, and it's not as if they've been throwing up points. Bears gave them a real rough time and should have won that game in Detroit a few weeks ago. I think the Bears can win this game as well, which sounds ridiculous. I know. I think the Bears can win this game. I've got them to cover the 3. I think the Bears can win this game. But yeah, I think the Lions need like a dominant performance, a bit of a get right, because the last 3 weeks have been real bad.
Mm-hmm.
Offensively, pretty good last week against Saints. Defensively, horrendous. Offensively and defensively, horrendous against the Packers and the Bears the first time. They do need to get right game. I just don't know if they're going to do it. I just don't know if they're going to get it. I think that defense it just leaves teams hanging around, and it's a big, big worry for the Lions going into the postseason. Yeah,
it is. And again, touching on the fantasy game day of it all here, I kind of love stacking Justin Fields and DJ Moore and maybe even putting Cole Kmet in there because he has a narrow target tree. And, DJ Moore and Cole Kmet are getting, some weeks 60% of the targets. You can attack the Lions in any number of ways. Justin Fields can go off of his legs. I think DJ Moore, you're looking at, pick your number of a dozen targets again coming in. Cole Kmet is often his first read. I just think with how poor, again, that line secondary has been looking, and again, the game against the Vikings was not how the Bears want to be playing offense. I think that was a reaction to how blitz heavy the Vikings are, and it was like, let's get screens, just try and get something going. And I mean, they won the games, but it was an awful offense. But I think as a general, I'd be very interested in stacking Fields with at least one of those pass catchers for Fantasy Game Day.
Yeah, Fields 7,100. DJ Moore 5,300, and Kmet 3,700. So you get some good value in Kmet.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Don't be giving away our strategy for Fantasy Game Day this week, Byron.
Well, not all of it.
Not all of it. You have to pay for that. In terms of the games, we'll talk the game as well as we have done a little bit here, and I've not just over. So the Lions are 14-6 against the spread in the last 20 road games, so real good road team at the minute. They've covered 11 divisional games in a row.
Wow.
The Lions. Oh, sorry. Let me take that back. They had covered 11 divisional games
until Green Bay.
Until the Chicago and Green Bay games in week 11 and 12.
Mm-hmm.
Good job I backtracked on that.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about it as you were saying. I was like, that's very impressive. And then as soon as you're like, wait, backtrack, I'm like, hang on, the Packers just put a stink on them as, touchdown underdogs.
Yeah. So yes, they're on a good run until those last two games. And we've already talked about this game. You're on Vikings Raiders over 45.
40.5, yeah, just to be clear.
No, 45. I just said it's 45. No, 45.
That line moved again. I think the strength of both teams is their offenses. I think the weaknesses of both teams sounds kind of glib there, but I think there's a very clear. The Vikings offense is much better than their defense, and the Raiders offense is much better than their defense. I'm not just saying it's like one and the other. I think the two best units in this game are the offenses, and the two worst are the defenses. I think it could just be I don't want to say 60-point game, but it wouldn't surprise me if this goes off as like one of the games of the week in terms of points. I was kind of 40 felt a bit low to me. Again, I don't know if I'd say 45 should be where it is, but I don't know. It just feels like a low number. I guess especially getting Jefferson back, Addison's playing, Hawkinson's playing, all the Suns are in there. Dobbs, for better or worse, he's been putting up numbers most of the time. Again, one bad week I don't think should ruin everything he's done.
It's a real bad week, though, wasn't it?
It was awful, yeah. But I don't think the Raiders defense is going to get to him, and I don't think he's going to be throwing up as many stinkers. And yeah, I think the Raiders will score to keep up. They've got the weapons to do it as well. I think it's not too much analysis. I just think the number's too low. Without wanting to be too glib about it. I can't wait to see Justin Jefferson come back. There's probably a lot of that painted into it though in my kind of projecting Justin Jefferson. He is the best wide receiver in football. He's been away a while. I hope he comes back. I think one of the key things is he hasn't rushed back.
Yeah, they probably they could have for maybe that Bears game.
Yeah, it felt like it could have been back 2 or 3 weeks ago if they really wanted to push it and bring him back as soon as they could. But I think they've done the right. I think it's generally, especially with wide receivers and hamstrings, give him an extra week.
Yeah,
it's almost certainly not going to ruin your season by giving him an extra week, and if it does, well, so be it. Justin Jefferson's your franchise. I guess there's a bit of projection of me going forward here that I just want to see Justin Jefferson play, and I expect him to be back to Justin Jefferson immediately. Maybe it isn't worth paying up for him as the second most expensive non-QB in Fantasy Game Day, knowing that's how much he is. But either way, he's going to be in any fantasy lineups I have. I will not be waiting a week to see how he is. He'll be straight back in any of those.
Fair. Onto the unders. I'm on Panthers Saints. I changed. Look, we've already talked to Eagles Cowboys. I had Eagles Cowboys under 53 in that, and then when I saw Cowboys Eagles has gone over 6 straight games. I was like, yeah, no. Take that out. I've gone Panthers Saints. I think this one could be really bad. A really bad game. And apologies. I've been told off for talking a lot of shit about the New Orleans Saints. So my girlfriend is a New Orleans Saints fan. She also listens, and she's not happy with me talking bad about the Saints. So I apologize, but I'm going to do it again. Just for the benefit of this one in the under. I think this is another one of the gates. So again, I keep going. The Panthers are going to win another game somewhere. The Saints are pretty bad at home.
Yeah.
So the Saints are 0-5 ATS at home this season. That's just if you're interested in betting the game. I take the Panthers at +5. I'd be taking the Panthers with a point. They've also not covered in 7 straight home games, so it bleeds into back of 2022. And in that run, 7-game run where they've not covered at home, the unders hit 5 and 2 on that run. Hence why I've gone under 37.5. Saints, Panthers.
Are you worried if Jameis starts? Does that impact your 40?
Yeah, because Panthers are more likely to score pick 6, aren't they, if Jameis plays?
Yeah, I think it's much more volatile. I think the Saints could put more points with Jameis, and they could also give up more points. I think it's a pretty good number anyway on the under, because I don't think the Panthers are putting up 14 points by themselves. Truthfully, I think it's going to be a tough go. There's been so many negative stories coming out of Panthers camp again this week. I don't know if you've seen all these. David Tepper criticising Bryce Young's footwork. A report came out. David Tepper needs to step away from the football side of things, obviously. It's very entertaining, though. I mean, I must say, when I'm saying he should step away, I've got the popcorn here. Keep talking, David. It's hilarious. But for the good of that franchise, this just in, billionaires don't actually know everything about everything. But it's kind of funny to watch them realise it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm right on the line with this game. So the Panthers put up 60 on average, put up 16 points a game. So far this season, the Saints put up 21. So I'm right on the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Saints desperately need this one. I don't think they can afford to drop this one.
No, you're probably right. Yeah.
I think this is the one they have to win. But like I say, the Panthers are going to win another game. And if you look at the schedule, I mean, they still got to play. I think they still got to play both the Bucs and Falcons, so it could be one of them. But you look at the schedule, you're thinking, well, yeah, New Orleans aren't great at home. This could be that one. I just think it'll be real low scoring.
And the pressure's off with the Panthers now because they're out of the division race. They can't make the playoffs officially.
Can't make the playoffs, yeah.
So yeah, pressure's off now. They might just come out, being a buzzkill and just, brutalizing everyone to play. Now the pressure's off.
The only thing they've got to play for is to make that Chicago
spite is what they've got to play for.
Yeah, spite. Yeah, to make sure that pick isn't the number one pick that they're handing over to Chicago, basically.
And I respect that. I'm big on spite.
Yeah.
As a spiteful person myself, I respect that.
Yeah. We'll see. It can be a great motivator. You're on Broncos Chargers under 44.
Yeah, how this game is a higher over-under than the Vikings Raiders, I don't understand. I was going to say take some understanding. I don't understand it flatly. In the last 7, the Broncos are 1 over 6 unders. In the Chargers' last 10, they are 1 over 9 unders. This is a dismal fixture. Chargers are going to slug their way through it. Austin Eckler's going to look like he's carrying a piano again. Keenan Allen's probably going to get 38 targets and no one else is going to catch the ball. Denver are going to push to a 17-14 win.
Fair. Broncos' last 3 games on the road have hit the under. That's all I've got for this one.
Yeah, can you believe that the Chargers' last 10 are 1 and 9 on the under over?
Over, so they're 9 and 1 on the under.
Yeah.
No.
That is staggering.
Yeah, no.
Think how that offense looked in week 1.
Yeah.
When they played the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And then, since then, and the last 7 has been 1 over 6 unders for the Broncos. I don't understand how this is 44.
Fair,
the Lions Bears is 40, the Vikings Raiders is 40, and there's an extra 4 points here. I mean, I love Justin Herbert, but it feels like his name's carrying an awful lot of points here that they shouldn't be.
Sharp money's here as well as on the under. So 60% of the money from only 29% of the bets is on the under. in with the Sharps. And Joe's on game we've already talked about, Bucks Falcons under 39. Is that right?
Yeah, I always like the pairing, and I didn't do it last week when I did hit, so I shouldn't say it's an automatic, but I like when I pick an underdog and the unders in play as like a popular choice as well, because if you're an underdog, you generally want less points than more. So I think this is a good under as well. I didn't pick it, obviously, as we've seen, but the Falcons just aren't killing anybody. I think you beat the Bucks through the air. We had the bet on the Colts as our fantasy game day play a few weeks ago on that notion, and we didn't quite hit, but I don't think the Falcons have got the arsenal to do it. And there's going to be a lot of, I think, Bijan and Tyler Algier up the middle, and that probably isn't the way to beat the Bucks. I think, low scoring game written all over it. 17-14 again kind of thing, 21-14 maybe.
Last 10 meetings between these two in Atlanta, overs hit 8 and 2.
Surprising.
Yeah, interesting. We'll see. Yes, that's our FourFold challenge. So Byron leads the way with 34, 15 and 3. 4 games ahead of Joe. I'm 9. Well, the guests are 2 games back, and then I'm another 7 games back of that. And if you listen to this, then you heard our guest Brendon Booth's. I'll get that out. Brendon Booth's picks earlier on. So thanks very much for those. Let's move to our ATS picks. I think we've covered most of the game, so there's not too much for us to cover. Thursday night football. So we talked about this in our preview. I'm going Patriots just because I think it's going to be such a low-scoring game. Patriots +6.
I thought I was as well, and I just pivoted kind of late.
Did you jump on the Mitch Trubisky's going to be real aggressive?
I think he might be more aggressive than Kenny Pickett. And I hate to say it in the way I'm going to say it, but it looks like Najee Harris isn't going to play, so I think that's a full workload for Jalen Warren, which I think is better for the Steelers than just mixing them in and out, because Jalen Warren just looks like a guy who's 10 years younger than Najee Harris right now, and he moves really well. He's good out the backfield, catching the ball. I think it's a tough. I just think the Patriots are kind of so moribund at this point. They're so hopeless. They're so defeated that the Steelers might put 12 points and it might be enough. There might not be a touchdown in the game. You highlighted that as a bet the other day. I think at 20 or 22 to 1, and I still think that's a great bet.
That's on my list.
That might be. It could be a 12-15. 12 or 15-0, 15-3 kind of game. I think the Steelers have just got enough to do it. The Steelers as 6 or more point favourites, so are 2-8 against the spread in the last 10. Tomlin as a favourite doesn't blow teams away. Mm-hmm. In 2023, that includes one game in the 2022 season. I must say, it's been a bit sneaky with the 2023 there. The Pats have been 6-point underdogs 3 times. They are 0-3 against the spread in that period, giving up an average of 34 points. I don't think that's going to be the case this week, but I just ended up going with the Steelers. I just think they've got more to them as a franchise. And I don't think Trubisky is that much of a drop-off, if any, from Kenny Pickett. I did initially think the Patriots, but I think the Steelers just going to have too much.
I'm going to... you know what? I've flipped on the Steelers after last week. I think the Patriots might win. It's ludicrous.
I'd kind of love it if they did, just to shake up that number 1 pick. Number 2, the top of the draft order. That would be fun.
I've taken the Patriots +6. It's stupid to say they're going to win outright. They're +220 if you want to take them outright. +6. I just think it's going to be so low scoring. I think 6 will cover. Both teams will struggle to get it in the end zone. Possibly the only if there is going to be a touchdown, it's going to be a defensive one. They're just so bad offensively, these two teams. Patriots defense though has played well.
It has, yeah.
So they've not quit.
We had that start on the review yesterday.
Yeah.
The only team since the 1920 Dick Couture style is the former Chicago Bears to hold opponents to 10 or fewer points in 3 consecutive games and lose all 3. Yeah. You could see it happening again.
Yeah, it could absolutely.
9-0 could certainly be in play.
Yeah. Yeah, as you'd expect, a lot of the money, 86% of the money's on the under in this one, but that's only from 14% of the bets. 86% of the bets are on the over from 14% of them, with 14% of the money. Yeah. I don't understand that. What are you doing? This is an under game. All just yeah. So yeah, I'm on under 30 as well in this one.
Yeah, I think the only way that you go over 30 is if the Patriots collapse.
Yeah,
I think that's literally it.
Yeah, I think the defense will stay strong again. Yeah,
I do too. Yeah, I wouldn't be betting the over, but I think that's the only way. Like, the back-to-back weeks, you had the Cowboys put up the record-breaking Bill Belichick loss, and then the next week it was the Saints put up the second worst, I think, ever.
Yeah,
and I think it's only if you get that kind of Saints performance where like it felt like the team kind of just jacked in on it. I think that's the only way you see it going, because the Patriots aren't contributing to getting over 30.
Yeah.
So it would only be if the Steelers have some kind of, what the heck? We got rid of Matt kind of Dan Kenny Pickett, and now we're putting up 40 points a game. It's not realistic.
No. Panthers, Saints, we touched on this game, but I'm on the Panthers +5. They covered last week.
Sorry, I had a little fact to help you with your Panthers solo mission here.
Go for it.
In New Orleans, as 5+ point underdogs, or 5 or more, all lifetime history for the Panthers, they are 3-9, but 8-4 against the spread.
Nice. Yeah, I've got them. So they're 4-1 against the spread in the last 5 in New Orleans. So
even more impressive.
Yeah, been pretty good. And the Saints, as mentioned previously, at 0-5 against the spread at home this season, and 7 straight at home. They haven't covered going into the end of last season. They're just really bad at home. I'm going to take the Panthers +5. This might be one that they win, but I think at the very least they cover like they did last week. Maybe keep it to a 3-point game. Bears, after taking the Bears, probably regret this one. I'm also trying to catch up games as well. It's probably why I'm on 9 underdogs this week. Bears +3. They gave the Lions a hell of a fright a couple of weeks ago, and the Lions haven't been right since. I'm going to say the Bears take advantage of it and scare them again, maybe even win. Which I appreciate is wild.
No, I don't think it is that wild. I mean, Lions have been very off in the last 3-4 weeks.
I was hoping I'd probably get a bigger spread, though.
Yeah.
3 feels like...
I thought it'd be bigger as well. I think it probably would be 4.5, 5.5.
Yeah, but Lions need to take care of business, I think. Just need to put a beat down on somebody like we've mentioned. Jets, Texans, we've talked about a little bit. Zach Wilson's back. Like Lions moved to 3.5. I'm on the Jets. Byron and Joe are on the Texans. Colts, Bengals, we've talked about. Me and Byron on the Colts, Joe on the Bengals. One we haven't talked about, Jaguars, Browns. I'm on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to play. So that's why I've taken the Jaguars at +3. I think he was in a press conference earlier, says it's not as bad as we first thought. He's not got a walking boot on. It only happened Monday. It's Wednesday now at the time of recording. I think he's going to play on Sunday, and if he does, that flip, surely. Yeah,
well, it certainly moves. I think it could well flip, though. And there's real encouraging seeing him without the walking boot on. I was kind of stunned, I must be honest, to see that. Because I don't know what Justin Fields is made of, what was Stretch Armstrong made of, because it feels like it might be the same kind of stuff where it's very much bend but doesn't break. Because that looked like a bad injury incoming.
It's awful, yeah.
I mean, maybe that 7-mile hike he had to do to get to the MRI sorted it out for him, I guess, maybe. But a couple of real interesting facts about this game, I thought. The last time the Jags lost on the road was December 4th, 2022. They lost to the Lions. In that time, they are 8-0 on the road, 8-0 against the spread. And do you know when the last time they over hit in a Browns home game?
Not in the last 10, because that was my start.
It was 11 games ago. The last over was October 16, 2022. It is 0-8-2 in that time.
That was exactly my start, yeah. Browns been good at home, though, 8-2 against spread in the last 10. So, but yeah, I just think this is just all hinges on Trevor Lawrence playing. I'm banking that he does. That's why I've taken him at the +3. That's why I'm going to take them at +3. Also, that over-under is interesting. It's worth gambling on that because it's 30.5 at the minute.
Yeah.
Again, if Lawrence plays, Flacco did okay last week. So I might just double gamble, go Jags +3 and then take the over as well, because obviously those numbers move quickly if there's any
if there's any movement on Trevor Lawrence, if he practices this week.
Yeah, I don't think he would. Yeah, I don't think he would.
No.
Doug Peterson said it was a high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
So
and Doug Peterson, I think, likes to keep these things close to his chest as well. I think he's one of them coaches. Just on the note of Joe Flacco there, he has eyes for Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
He always has in New York, continued again last week. Amari Cooper banged up. I think Elijah Moore could be a real cheap fantasy game day option, and the lines aren't up yet for it, but I think I might be back in 2 receiving leaders this week. And if Elijah Moore is 100-1 or in that vicinity, I think he's going on as a total punt play this week for me on the weekly specials, because I think Joe Flacco's just going to target. He loves Elijah Moore. Yeah. And Elijah Moore also is a downfield threat. He could have 7 catches for 170 yards.
Yeah, 3,700 in Fantasy Game Day. And I think he got 12 targets last week.
Yeah, Joe Flacco absolutely loves him. It's one of the weirder ones. Like, where does that narrative come from? But he just always made an effort to get him the ball. Did it immediately in Cleveland. I can see it happening again. And, that bargain price in Fantasy Game Day, it lets you get some top level everywhere else, essentially. You could put him and Cole Kmet in. You can really build whatever you want around the rest of it, I would think. And, annoyingly, the lines aren't up for the receiving Sunday specials yet. But, again, not a one I expect to hit, but a one that I think could be a fun value to track.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, until the Trevor Lawrence situation becomes clear, I think those aren't going to be up. We're all on the Ravens. We've not talked about this game at all. With Ravens at home against the Rams. I thought somebody had taken the Ravens as the favourite. I was really tempted. 7 was...
It's just too much.
7 was too much. But...
I thought this might have been one of your underdogs as well, because I knew you were going to start making some more YOLO picks, I guess, as the season draws near to an end. But, I know this is your start, so I'm not going to jump on it, but, like, Lamar, NFC, say no more.
17-3 straight up. He owns the NFC. And the Rams are really are not great as a road underdog. They're... I think it's 2-6-2 as a road underdog. But key one, the under's been 7-2-1 in those games. What was the line? Whose line is it anyway? It was 40.
Yeah.
But
tough line.
I think the Ravens might kill the Rams here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one the Rams can drop with who they've still got left to play.
Yeah.
So not the end of the world for the Rams chasing a wild card spot. Ravens have had the week off. Yeah, I think Lamar might kill the Rams here.
I certainly wouldn't be surprised. It wasn't in contention for my favourite of the week, but I didn't really have any qualms about picking it in my ATS either. I never really considered the Rams, even with 7 points.
Yeah. We've touched on Bucks, Falcons. Me and Byron are on the Buccaneers. Joe's on the Atlanta Falcons. I'm on the Raiders. Byron and Joe on the Vikings. We've touched on that one. We haven't talked about Seahawks Niners. Niners big favourites, 10.5-point favourites at home off the back of that demolition job. Is there a risk that this is a bit of a letdown spot after such a big win?
Definitely. I think there's not any given Sunday. There's zero doubt in my head the 49ers win this game. But could it be a 4-point game? Could it be a touchdown game? Certainly. That's not... I mean, we've seen how the Seahawks played last Thursday.
Yeah.
Of course they could put a good amount of points and get some pressure on Brock Purdy. Of course they could. It's hard to bet on any number against the Niners, I think, at this point. But we all picked the Niners, but I certainly wouldn't be stunned. Again, this wasn't never in my thoughts as my FourFold.
Yeah. Niners are 9-1 against the spread in their last 10 divisional games. The over's 5-0 in the last 5 Niners divisional games as well, which is interesting because we've got our guest has picked this as the under. 49ers had covered 8 in a row at home, but haven't covered the last 2. So that was the defeat against the Bengals and the Bucks, which they just let the Bucks kind of backdoor cover it, really.
Yeah. Historically, the Seahawks have been 26 times have been an underdog of 10 or more points. They're 0-26 in that time. 9-17 against the spread, so not too bad in that sense. 4 of those games have happened in the Pete Carroll era, which I was stunned by they're 0-4 in the Pete Carroll era, obviously. If they've played 4 and they're 0-26 historically. 1-3 against the spread in that time. I couldn't believe any of those games were in the Pete Carroll era. I figured they would all be 70s, early Seattle games. I was surprised it was 26 historically as well. It seemed like a very high number. No real context or clues to how this game will go. I was just surprised by the number.
Yeah, and great point there, actually. Thanks, Brian, for correcting me. I've just put the wrong... Joe's on the Raiders because they are in his FourFold. There's only one mistake in there. I was doing so well.
We had to have one to keep me active, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yes, so Joey's on the Raiders with me, Byron on the Vikings. What could be another great game? Bills, Chiefs, and these have been great games when these two sides have met. Not across the last few seasons. I think it's not must win for the Bills, but if they drop this one, then they are going to have to win out.
Yeah, and I don't love the Chiefs as a pick here. This is a really tough one to make a pick on, I must be honest.
I kind of thought it might have been 3.5. And I felt a lot better about it then. But I just think Chiefs need a bounce back, but we're nearing must-win territory. Like almost every game is must-win for the Bills at the minute. So I think they're going to do it. They played so well against Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Chiefs are in a bad spot. I really like the Bills to go beat the Chiefs.
And the Bills have had the bye in week 13. Dawson Knox being activated from the IR. I don't know if he's going to be fit and back for this game necessarily, but certainly a step in the right direction because, he's not Travis Kelce or George Kittle. He's not one of the top tight ends in the league, but he's a good weapon for them. I love how vertical he is. I really, really struggled picking this game. I'm still kind of torn. This is certainly not one that I'll be betting on the outcome of it. Again, a little fact I dug up, which again kind of surprised me with how I feel about the Bills and how I feel they end seasons. In the Sean McDermott era, they've been road underdogs of 2 or more points 5 times. They're 0-5 in those games and 1-4 against the spread. And to me, they are a team who go on the road and win in December. I don't have all the games up, I must say, but to me, they're a December team. So I was kind of surprised to see that in the Sean McDermott era. They've not won when they've been a 2 or more point underdog, which, 2-point underdog is really nothing. It's just to...
Interesting.
Draw that line there,
yeah. This one for betting, and I think the number's quite, it's 47.5. I don't think we're going to get maybe like the typical Bills Chiefs shootout that we've had before. Chiefs have had the last 4 home games for the Chiefs have all been unders, 4 in a row. I like that bet under 47.5.
Yeah, and this is a rare one where I kind of feel like normally if I'm talking about the underdog, I want the under to hit. And obviously I have the Chiefs here, but I always feel like I want the Chiefs on the under because if it goes over, I think it's because the Bills have been putting up the points, not the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I struggle to see the Chiefs putting up a great... The more I talk about this game, the more I'm swaying to I should have picked the Bills. I don't know if that's obvious in the way I'm talking, but I'm really looking forward to this game. It's a real good Sunday afternoon slate. If you take out the next game we're about to cover, I like the other 3 games a lot.
Yeah. I don't know if the Bills kind of gate crash the playoffs, which is kind of the position they'd be in now, if that's almost better for them because the expectation around them the last couple of years has been wild.
Yep. Coming as party poopers, buzzsaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, and to get in, they're going to need to win some tough games. So, yeah, I know. I think Bills might get on a run. They were so good against Philadelphia and should have won.
I'm still annoyed by McDermott's 20 seconds to go, just kneeling on the butt.
Yeah, and Josh Allen put that team on his back. I think if you start, and it wasn't the hero ball, but he was just so good.
Yeah.
If we get that Josh Allen for 5 games, I think the Bills do get in, do win enough games, and could go win a playoff game or 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Broncos Chargers. I'm on the Broncos because I'm riding all the underdogs this week. We're all on the Broncos.
Yep.
Why have I? So that's my second.
I was so confused seeing my own thing. I was like, I have not picked the Chargers.
Oh, this is why Joe needs to do this and not. It was such a effort. Oh.
I mean, the rest are all right.
Yeah.
2 mistakes. It happens.
Oh, mate. Yeah, we're all on the Broncos plus 2.5 against the Chargers. Chargers suck. Broncos need to stay in the race for, if they're going to get an AFC wildcard spot. They took a loss last week against the Texans. It was quite damaging for that. Yeah. It's going to be a gross game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be horrible. I don't know. I used to double check this one. It feels like the Broncos should be 2.5 point underdogs. Like, favorites. Yeah, should be getting an under, not an over plus. Again, how much weight Justin Herbert's name carrying for the Chargers? I love Justin Herbert. You won't hear me say a bad word. I'll happily defend him on this show and anywhere else. The Chargers shouldn't be favored against most any teams in the NFL right now. And certainly not the Broncos, they've been on a really good run. I think the form's been a little overhyped because I think some of it has been lucky, but it's better to be lucky than good. And they have won the games, and they're certainly in a better place than LA right now. I mean, that is, again, like we talked about, it was the Eagles Bills a few weeks ago when you said, sometimes the bookies put it down because they want you to bet on it. This feels like one of those where it's just a complete trap. Yeah. I don't know what the trap is. I don't know what I'm missing. The Broncos are playing like a better team. The better coach team by a million miles, and I don't love Sean Payton. Don't know how they're 2.5 point underdogs. I do not understand.
Don't get it. Take it. They probably won't be 2.5 point underdogs come Sunday. So
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, Cowboys Eagles. I feel like I was so close to putting the Eagles just because it's more than a field goal game.
Yeah,
but I was taking the Cowboys. So are you, and Joe's on the dark side, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, as long as he's happy with it.
Yeah. Hopefully he can sleep at night. We're all on the Packers, -6.5 for the Giants, and we're all on the Dolphins. Dolphins, it's a big number.
It is. It's in Miami, which helps.
Yes. -13.5, though. It's a lot of points.
When they're favored by more than 7, Mike McDaniel is 6-2 against the spread. When favored by 13 or more, they're 2-1 against the spread in the Mike McDaniel era. Mike Vrabel's already been an underdog of this volume twice, 1-1 against the spread, so nothing to take away there. As a 7-point or more underdog, again, it's only happened 6 times in Vrabel's career at 3-3. So again, not much to take away there. So I just think, again, Miami playing for something Tennessee aren't really. I think they're not on the game day slate. Probably a good thing because it means there's less Tyreek Hill captains out there. But I'll be on Devon A. Chain any week he's active as going over his rushing totals, because he is a game breaker.
Yeah, absolutely. Bounced back last week from his injury, 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. Right, that brings us to the end of our week 14 picks and preview episode. Flown through this week.
Yeah, it was real quick. Yeah,
nice. All right, but it's going to be close to 2 hours still, but
yeah.
We're getting there. We're making it better each week. Thanks ever so much for joining us, listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube. As a reminder, make sure you follow us if you're not already. Good Teams Win Great Teams cover over on Spotify, at GTW_GTC on YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, and TikTok. Are you going to make Charlie pick the Thursday night football game? Because that feels mean.
Well, I was going to say, I just hope he doesn't vomit when he sees the game. But yeah, he will be picking it. I might have to put an extra special treat down. I might have whipped cream for him tomorrow, maybe.
I think you need like a third option for him as well. So you know, Patriots +6, Steelers -6, and I don't know if he's had the snip or whatever, or I'd rather get my balls chopped off again than watch this game. Maybe that will be the third option.
I'll put it to our art department and see what they can knock up for the sign there. Yeah,
cool. Right, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you for our week 14 review early next week. Have fun and have a great week 14.
Cheers.